Welcome everyone to this edition of the Community Talk. We're delighted to see you all here. Today's session is titled Exploring PhD Initiatives. And on the one hand, we'll cover the Ethiopian Superstar project. And on the other hand, we'll discuss the South African Presidential PhD program. We're very pleased to welcome our speakers, Teklu Gemetchu from Ghent University, Meliswe Dejene and Acham Sadiq from Hawassa University, and also Blakey Lancelot Hadebe from the South African Department of Science and Technology. We're especially excited about this community talk as we will explore PhD initiatives from two different perspectives, and we're curious to discover and learn from each other. Before giving the floor to the speakers, we'll briefly share three practical announcements better. First of all, throughout the presentation, feel free to submit your questions in the chat. We'll address them during the Q&A. Secondly, please keep your microphone muted during the presentation, because during the Q&A, you're welcome to unmute yourself, to turn on your camera and to ask your questions directly to one or more of the speakers. And thirdly, this community talk is being recorded and will be shared afterwards on our YouTube channel, so please be aware that this is being recorded. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in. We hope you enjoyed today's community talk. Share the presentation, and I'll give the floor to the speakers.
Depending on where you are, in which part of the world you are, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Teklu Gemetchu from Ghent University. I'm an associate professor of specialist and inclusive education. I'm a director of academic program relevance and quality enhancement directorate. I'm a South coordinator of the IQ-GIR project and also the South promoter of the Ethiopian Superstars project we are talking about. Today, three of us will be making presentation. Three of us are the members of the Ethiopian Superstars project who are providing training. So I will introduce basically, maybe the next slide, Laura. So I will be making presentation for 10 minutes, giving you the background information about the Ethiopian Superstars project. And then my friend, Dr. Meliswe Dejene from Hawassa University will be making presentation by giving experience from the trainers and the trainees who took part in the Ethiopian Superstars training. And specifically, since we have organized for ladies and by ladies training in this Ethiopian Superstar training, Dr. Acham Sadiq, who had been also the trainer herself in this for ladies and by ladies training, she will be giving us experience from that. So I'm going to just give you the general background about how the Ethiopian Superstars project started. So next slide. So the idea of the Ethiopian Superstars project started or sprouted from the IQ-GIR project. IQ-GIR is an inter-university collaboration for quality graduate education and research among 4 Ethiopian universities working with Ghent University. So in the south, Ghent University is a coordinator, and in the north, Ghent University is the coordinator. The main vision behind this Ethiopian Superstar training is to strengthen the coaching and the advisory skills of the academic staff at Ethiopian higher education institution. The lifespan of the project is from September 2023 to August 2026. So maybe next slide. So as I said, the idea started from the IQ-GIR. The IQ-GIR focuses basically on strengthening and improving the quality of postgraduate education. So in this project, IQ-GIR, the issue was how can we improve our postgraduate program? The most important issue raised, in fact, was about PhD supervision. So one of our project member, Professor Bruno Levesque from Ghent University, actually took this idea and discussed with his friends in Ghent, and particularly Impetus Academy, which is a spin of Ghent University. So discussing on those issues, he organized an agile leadership training, particularly to be attended by members of the IQGIR project who were in Ghent during a meeting that was actually organized. So in August 2022, the members of the IQGIR project were in Ghent, and we took 2 days of training on agile leadership and the supervision training. And then after taking the training, we had to actually reflect on the practices based on whatever discussions we had. And then in November 2022, another second round of the training was conducted in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. So this first training, in fact, was considered as a first cohort because the IQ project members took part in it, reflected on how important the training was, how it could be scaled up. In the meantime, we also recruited some volunteers who were interested actually to also join this training from different universities across Ethiopia. So the second cohort of PhD supervisors also attended the agile leadership training. From these 2 cohorts of training, the lesson learned was that it was found to be very important, useful for our context, and also to scale it up. So the idea of scaling up this training to different universities came up, and then a strategic decision was made to recruit Ethiopian TOTs or trainers so that this training will be modified to the Ethiopian context and also carried out at large scale. So next slide. So that, the strategic decision that was made was to recruit TOTs from the Ethiopian, maybe higher education institutions, and train them so that they will take on what the Impetus Academy was doing. Next slide. So in the meantime, in April 2023, I was in Ghent, and together with Professor Bruno Levek of Ghent University, we wrote a proposal for ITP, International Training Program, and secured the funding of 150,000 euro to use to this TOT training, as well as to strengthen the Ethiopian Superstars project. At this time, instead of now remaining with the 4 partner universities of the IQGIR member, we added 3 additional Ethiopian universities, Mekelle University, Bahar Dar University, and Arba Minch University, to join and get actually benefit from these ITP trainings. Next slide. So what was the ambition of the project? The ambition of this project, Ethiopian Superstar, is to strengthen the advisory and the coaching skills of the academic staff of Ethiopian higher education institution. So the aim was actually to train about 16 Ethiopian superstars as TOTs. As I said, Impetus Academy was training the 2 cohorts as a pilot, but now we wanted to sustain it. So the idea of the Ethiopian Superstar was to provide training for more Ethiopians, to recruit as 16 TOTs. And these 16 TOTs will work in their institutions, respective institutions, with a maximum of 10 people. If they train during 3 years of training, they will produce a total of 210 academic staff who will get PhD supervision. So the timing was from 2024 to 2026. The idea behind this Ethiopian Superstar is also to customize this training to the Ethiopian context, even though it started with Impetus Academy, by training the Ethiopian TOTs and customizing to the Ethiopian context. This will actually facilitate the integration of the training into the Ethiopian universities. So that was what happened. And then the next slide is, accordingly, in October, for example, 2023, we decided to recruit 16 of the trainers, TOTs, For this, 13 candidates were registered. So the first interview to recruit this candidate was conducted in Belgium when some members of IQ Gear who applied for this TOT were in Belgium. So some of these members actually were interviewed. And then the remaining candidates who were not in Belgium, they were interviewed in Ethiopia from November 4 to November 10. So the Impetus Academy actually was recruiting all these TOTs and providing training. So based on from the 30 candidates that were interviewed, they recruited about 16 TOTs. Of these 16 TOTs, 14 actually completed the TOT. This TOT training for the selected candidate took place in February 2024. The first round of training for 2 days, in fact, was conducted in February. Before the training, Impetus Academy sent materials that these TOTs could read and work on. And then the face-to-face training was conducted in Jimma, Ethiopia. And then in between, the TOTs who were attending this training were reflecting on the practices. They were doing certain assignments, and the Impetus Academy was looking into whatever they were doing. And the second round of the training was conducted later in May 23, on May 23 and 24 in Awasa. Next slide. So finally, 14 TOTs were trained, as you can see, 6 candidates from Awasa, 5 candidates from Jimma University, 2 from Ambo, 1 from Addis Ababa. A total of 14 TOTs were trained by Impetus Academy. So what was the plan of these trained TOTs? These 14 trained TOTs were to provide training over a period of 3 years, starting from maybe just you can click on the slide. Yeah. So by admitting the first cohort of training in each respective universities, I said there are now 7 Ethiopian universities to be reached out through this Ethiopian Superstar training. So the first training, first cohort of training took place from October 2024 up to February 2025. The second cohort actually took place in 2025, and the final cohort of training will take place in 2026. A total of 210 candidates were expected. And when we look at the nature of the training lasts for 2 days, and then in between the training, so I mean 2 rounds of training. The first training lasts for 2 days, and then the second round also lasts for 2 days. In between these 2 rounds of training, there are assignments that should be completed by the trainees, reflecting on the challenge that they have encountered based on what lessons that they have learned, discussions that have been made. They practice and reflect on the actual situation in the context where they are working. So the second 2 days of training again will be also face-to-face, where the trainees work on motivating my team. Motivating my team is the agenda that they talk about, and this will be followed by assignments. 2 assignments will be given. Based on the assignment, they will develop their action plan. Next slide. Yeah. So now the question is, what is the main content of this PhD supervision training? The training is based or founded on the major framework of motivation research developed by Edward Gracie and Richard Ryan. In this motivation theory research, 3 core psychological needs were identified as self-determination theory. So these 3 core psychological needs that should be either supported and satisfied. If they are not supported and satisfied, will make employees not to function very well. So the training focuses on how PhD supervisors can support the autonomy, the belongingness, the competence of their PhD supervisors, so that they will be motivated, engaged in what they are doing. Because this psychology, this theory tells that when people are supported in their psychological needs for their autonomy, belongingness, and competency supported, they will engage highly in whatever job they are doing. So this leads to higher engagement and persistence, better performance and creativity, and a stronger well-being and persistence will come if these three psychological needs are supported. On the other hand, when these psychological needs are not supported, people will be demotivated, disengaged, and become nervous. So the basic idea behind this training is to provide training to the PhD supervisors on how they can satisfy the ABC need of their supervisors, so that they will be engaged and productive. Accordingly, yes, next slide. Accordingly, the 14 trainers are working in their respective institution, mostly working in their respective institution where adequate trainers are not available. The trainers are sent to the other universities. Here, a total of 130 PhD supervisors have undergone training so far. Most of this training happened in the respective places where the supervisors are working, reflecting on their own practice. And now we have collected data from the supervisors, the trainees and the trainers who have undergone the PhD supervision training and the TOTs. The next presentation will be made by my friend from Awasa University, Dr. Melissa Dejene, telling you about the experience of how the trainers and the trainees felt this PhD supervision, the TOT training, and also the actual training for the supervisors. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Melissa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Teklu. Thank you, Laura, and the organizers. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. As Dr. Teklu already introduced, my talk for the next few minutes will be on participants evaluation. I mean, based on the outcome of a survey conducted by the IQGWARE project or the Ethiopian Superstars project. So this view reflected that is going to be presented in a while is about the views of participants, trainee participants that are, who are rather Ethiopian PhD supervisors in the partner universities that the training was provided, and as well our own view, as you've seen the 14 trainers introduced by Dr. Teklu a while ago. The views are just reflect. So overall, the survey outcome indicated that the participants' evaluation, as you can see from the slide, about the training is well rated in terms of a couple of variables. Actually, there are details, but for our talk today, I'm focusing on some selected variables. And the first variable, which trainees were, or TOTs, as Dr. Teklu mentioned already, asked to evaluate was practical organization of the training. As you can see from the bar graph here, in terms of communication, in terms of learning, in terms of expectations, what trainees expected, out of the training, and in terms of the duration of the training, and as well the timeline the training was given, because as you might have heard already from Dr. Teklu, the training was organized in 2 rounds in the midst, where there will be a space for the trainees in order to reflect on the first round, and also do work on rather their home take assignments, and also the group size, because maximum of 12 participants are involved in the respective universities in each cohort of training, because so far we've given already 2 cohorts in each of the first generation Ethiopian universities. And also the material, and they also rated their home tech assignment. And they said that, that they're very, very much satisfied in that regard. And the other issue the survey was interested in knowing was how the trainers were received by the respective trainees in the respective universities. So as you can see from the bar graph, there are, good stories, and you can see that the trainers were rated very high for their interactions. They were rated very high in terms of the examples they were giving, that, the examples they were giving were making sense. And as Dr. Teklo said, customizing, it to the Ethiopian context, it was kind of lively. And feedback was also rated positively in terms of, the trainers, giving feedback, because in the midst we give feedback, for the home tech assignments, as well as in terms of face-to-face feedback. And the other issue was a matter of qualification, because the trainers need to be rated as qualified in order to give this, high level and interesting training. And interestingly, as you can see from the results of the survey, the trainers are rated very high. Next slide. And also the other issue was impact. Actually, we measured here the perceived impact of the training as received by the trainees. And as you can see, the training was found to be relevant in terms of sharing knowledge, in terms of practicality, that means usefulness to actual PhD supervision practice in Ethiopia, which has, a lot of issues to improve. And also, it is said to be aligned with the day-to-day practice of PhD supervision, right? In terms of giving, something useful for that practice. And the trainers said that they are encouraged because of taking this training, which was rightly and interestingly presented by Dr. Teklu as, subscribing to the ABC model. Next slide, please. So, because this is a very impactful training, which has to go for long term, the research in knowing, if there are, rooms for improvement. And trainers as well as trainees, the TOTs as well as the training participants suggested, some issues for improvement. The first one, which was rightly addressed, was the involvement of a few female academic staff in the both as a TOT as well as as trainees. And in response to this, the IQGWER project, the Ethiopian Superstars project, started a buy for ladies only training, which is going to be presented by our colleague Dr. Acham next after a moment. And then the application requirement, which was kind of stiff and which was kind of, pushing with the female academics way, was kind of adapted in order to attract more trainees. So the other issue which was suggested was to have more examples from Ethiopian context, because this was developed by the Impetus Academy and University of Ghent, as Dr. Ailu suggested. So it needed to be contextualized, and we take that for granted. And the next rounds where more, effort was done actually to contextualize the training. And the other issue was the issue of timing. As you've seen, it was like a 2 rounds, a 2-day each training, but there was a suggestion by trainees to have one more in each round. And as the package was already designed, to be for that time, that was not actually addressed, and that was not taken to be a very serious comment. Next, Laura. So there are some reflections from the trainees and the trainers, the TOTs, that means the trainees reflected that they recognize the importance of their role as a supervisor on the success of a PhD trajectory. And they found this ABC model, which the Ethiopian Superstar project subscribed as a very relevant model in PhD supervision in Ethiopia or elsewhere. And they also reflected that they got the opportunity to learn and reflect on their own supervisory, skills and experience, and as well as style, vis-a-vis that of the need of their respective PhD students. Coming to the TOTs also have reflected that they got the opportunity to learn from participants and co-facilitator, because as Dr. Teklo mentioned, it was a kind of a pair modality that we followed in each university. We train, trainees being in a pair. So that was a very important practice, which was greeted positively. And trainers also reflected that they acquired facilitation skills and improved training design skills. And as also they found the co-facilitation, that means the pair modality, as very dynamic and very important learning curve. Next. So my final slide, the Ethiopian Superstar project, which was as presented by Dr. Teklo, which was conceived in 2009 as a seed, which is very important to be in the system of the Ethiopian higher education, was planted, and then it passed through the stage of developing into a seedling and then a small plant, but as of now in 2026, but a lot more needs to be done in order to fully integrate the Ethiopian Superstar PhD supervisory skills training into the Ethiopian higher education system. So time will tell where we go. And next will be Dr. Acham, who is presenting a training by Ladies for Ladies. And thank you. Over to you, Laura.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Melisau. You all hear me?
Yes, we do very clearly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Laura. And I am Acham English from Hausa University. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'll present the Ladies by Ladies experience. Same like Dr. Melisau, I am also presenting the experiences, what we already seen from the female by female training about the PhD supervisions. So initially, we just challenged because of different issues, and because the number of female participants or female trainees were few in numbers during the total call in the mixed design. And then we see that this may be because of different reasons. Women may not be able to compete with the men, and that may limit the number of the female participants. And then we just discussed as to give some chances to set aside of quota for women's, just only a female trainees program. And then with that, we did not change the content of the training, the overall issues and so on, but we just changed only the type of the participants. And this participant is only the female participants. So with that, we provided an adequate number of female participants were able to participate or to join the training from the 7 universities. Totally, we get 13 training from all these 7 PhD supervisors, female PhD supervisors from all the 7 universities. Thank you very much. Next. So this trainee, I think in terms of the experience, they are very young, those who are not yet advised the PhD students, and there is also seniors who advise a lot of students in a PhD journey. So with this, so the opportunity also creates to share experiences and to look about the shared realities also among the trainees by themselves and also from the facilitators. So the trainers looked like them and they spoke like them openly because they understood and they have said also the seniors also have passed through same struggles. People think that the seniors may not have any struggle and so on, but that is not the reality in the practice. So they get a lot of experiences from the participants, the trainee by itself. So this shared reality also provided them a lot of experience. So with that, we collected the feedback from the trainees, and some of the feedbacks were here. The all-female environment made me feel more comfortable in participating. So they comfortably provided their experience, their challenges, their thoughts, and in their mind about the journey in PhD supervision. And then some of the participants also said, I felt free to share my experiences, concerns without presence of the male participants. So some people may think that sharing that issues maybe it is some shameful or so, thoughting this issue, I have challenged by this and that, maybe it seems like it's not a right issues to talk. But while just collecting these females trainee together, they openly speak out what they are understood, what they feel, and so on. So the female-only format helped them to feel more heard and to understood more about the issues. And some of them also provided the feedbacks. I would not have been as open in sharing my views if the male participants were present. So the presence of the experience shared by the female trainees helped them to relate to real challenges also. And that challenge is also is not a unique challenge for them. It is a unique challenge, a challenge for everybody in every academicians passing through the PhD advisory journey. Next slide. So what is the impact of this training? I think one, it creates clarity among the trainees. And so the model becomes some mental framework they could apply immediately. And they also, it builds a confidence. So as a beginner, one of the participants said that I am a beginner, but now I feel equipped because this opportunity, the platform by itself creates to feel equipped with how will PhD students be advised. And then as a community, so the realization that other women shares same struggles, so they consider that this is not a unique challenges that shared by themselves, encountered by them. So everybody shares same challenges and so on. So this was not just, finally they said, it is not only a training, so it is a life skill training also because of the collected realities from different participants and so on. So in conclusions, I think this is not about saying the mixed gender training is not wrong, because it is okay still. It can go with its own road and path, but it's about acknowledging that one size does not fit all. So different platform make the training program or the projects also very successful. So we have evidence that the for or by ladies training unlocks the honesty and build confidence and equip women with tools they immediately use for their PhD advisory journeys. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, any unclear issues, and so on, you all welcome also. Thank you very much. Thank you. Back to you, Laura.
Thank you, Acham, and thank you also for the other two speakers for presenting the Ethiopian Superstar project and your experience with it. But before opening the floor, I would like first to go to the second part of the presentation, which will be presented by Blakey Lancelot from South Africa. So I would like to give the floor to you. If you already have questions, feel free to add them in the chat or to hold them a few more minutes before asking them directly. Mr. Lancelot, I'll give the floor to you
now. Thank you so much, colleagues, and welcome to this fruitful engagement. My name is Becky Hadebe. Sir Lancelot is a bit too formal. I'm filling in for Refilwe Mashego, who is not well. In terms of my workstation, I work for the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, and therefore I drive policy, funding, legislation, and governance for the institutions in our science system or in our national system of innovation. So we've got an implementing agency, which is the National Research Foundation. They implement all our human capital development programs. So maybe just to complete that, in my portfolio, I'm responsible for the funding of the next generation of researchers, largely your honors, masters, and PhD students, but also supporting emerging researchers. And I also run programs, equity programs, in terms of ensuring, the diversity, particularly in race and gender terms, of our research workforce. One of the key flagship programs in that regard is the South African Women in Science Awards. I've got my colleague who is supporting me here, Dr. Maputi Madicha, on the platform as well. Now, a slightly different program, because this program is at its inception stage, unlike the previous program, which was based on, the lessons learned and the reflections. This one, we're still starting with the program, but we're building on, the existing, we're ramping up the existing programs. It's a program aimed at internationalizing, our research workforce, ensuring that we send as many as possible of our PhD students, emerging researchers, and even established researchers to can access, world-class facilities and infrastructure and be exposed, to cutting-edge international frontiers, of knowledge. So we can't duplicate certain research infrastructures in the country. We don't have capabilities even at supervision level in certain areas. Therefore, we want to, to utilize the international platforms to build our own capacities. So the need for high level, this is a country, the context, we've got an unemployment rate of 32% in the country at the moment, but this unemployment rate, it will decrease according to the level of the qualification that a person has. At the highest level, for example, we completed a national PhD tracer study where we're tracing about 30,000 PhDs who graduated from South African universities between the years 2002 and 2018. We found that unemployment among the PhD students is almost non-existent. Actually, to be specific, only less than 2% of the PhD students reported to have had challenges finding employment within the first 2 years of having graduated with a PhD. Now, there are issues around the stagnation of funding, particularly when we look at the gross expenditure on research and development. We've been trying and not succeeding in reaching a target percent of 1%. In other words, we're spending less than 1% of our GDP on research and development. And also, the pulling out of the funding from the US as well has actually ensured that our funding has not grown in real terms. It is growing, but it's growing below the level of inflation. So there's no growth. And then the PhD skills challenges, this initiative, we want to diversify PhD training just beyond, the academic route. And you'll see actually when I present on the PhD pathways that we're pursuing. Now, point number 4 is where it talks about the pathways beyond academia. So we're trying to have our PhDs develop different skills, especially skill sets that are applicable, for example, in the area of enterprise development, innovation, that are also applicable in statecraft, for example, our Reserve Bank, and even in terms of improving performance of the state institutions, just beyond, the research for research sake in terms of the knowledge outputs. Now, we want also to piggyback on international network opportunities. At this point, I must actually say that in terms of the current cohorts of PhDs in our country, out of 100 PhDs that are enrolled at our universities, 32 of them are from outside South Africa. And largely, they will come from the SADC countries, but also to a certain extent from Africa at large, excluding South Africa, but also a few of them will be international to the extent that they come from outside the continent of Africa. So 32% of our enrolled PhDs are from outside the country. And we have not reciprocated that. We have not sent our own PhD students in numbers, to benefit from international exposure in other academic environments. So this program, the presidential PhD program, wants to reverse that. Maybe while I'm on it, it was announced we call it the presidential PhD program. It was announced by the president with a pledge of 1 billion rands in funding. And that 1 billion rands, we are working hard to leverage, to actually increase that seed funding and increase it by about 5 times by 2031, 32, so that we can then massify, the outflows. It's more of an outflow instrument targeted at people with PhDs. Now, in terms of, our histories as well, Black South Africans constitute 53% of PhD graduates, and when Black South Africans account for 81% of the population. Maybe in this regard, I must actually say that we've made serious breakthroughs in terms of the gender transformation, because when you look at undergrad, honors level, and masters, there is almost a gender parity at that level. So the only level of study where there's still not a gender parity is at a PhD level, where women remain underrepresented. But then that statement, maybe it's a sweeping statement. Women still remain underrepresented in certain critical, disciplines. So there's work that we need to do in terms of focusing equity and transformation. So these are the pillars of the PhD program: transformation, collaboration, sustainable partnerships, and impact. And as I said, the whole initiative has the name of the president, but also it's coordinated by the National Research Foundation. We're working closely with our department, sister department of higher education and training, and also the National Skills Fund, which is the funder for this program. Higher education and training already historically actually has had a number of, you call them overseas PhD study program, full-time overseas PhD study program with MOUs with countries like Japan, Germany, France, China, Russia, and even Mauritius. But these are small, pockets of these overseas studies. So the presidential PhD program is this overarching, program that will absorb everything that has an international dimension in it in relation to PhD and beyond training. Next slide. Yeah, maybe if you focus on your right, we want to send PhDs in industries abroad so that they learn specialist skills from industry so that certain sectors are actually become much more impactful in terms of what they contribute to the economy. So we'll be sending some of our PhD students to industries abroad. Academic research in terms of this is actually driving the knowledge frontiers in new fields or new emerging fields, but also policy-related research. How do we improve? Government is a significant employer of PhD graduates. Is a significant, but then have we really developed PhDs to have a much more meaningful impact in terms of improving statecraft? So this will be, for example, we'll be sending students in Japan to learn a thing or two about, how certain government programs are driven or conceptualized, driven, implemented, evaluated, and all of those things. Then also, some of the students then will be placed in SMMEs. So there will be an element as well as we diversify PhD training from academia to say, how do we then drive innovation, entrepreneurship, and commercialization, and I've just learned now, it's been on the news that in China, for example, you get your PhD by putting an artifact, an object, an innovation on the opening up that space to say innovators must qualify for, for PhDs. But that we work in a knowledge economy, so it's probably not an issue of a discovery or an invention for the sake of it, but what is the underlying, body of knowledge. Now, so these are the objectives of the presidential PhD program. Enhance, all right. The next slide, all right. So we want then, we want to establish what we call, or maybe before I get there, now, the PhD presidential project has different pillars to it. One, it's sending PhD students for short-term training, 3-6 months abroad, so that they can access whatever facilities and expertise that exist. So short-term, whether it's Sandwich learning programs, whether it's sending students to CERN, Joint Institute of Nuclear Research, the European Molecular Biology, access, develop and learn certain techniques. Then the other one is the full-time studies abroad that I've actually mentioned before in terms of, the different MOUs that we have with France, Germany, and a number of other countries. Then the other arm, we want to link up with industries in South Africa to say, what are your needs, your research and development needs, whether it's the SOSOL of this country, whether it's APSA, and partner with them to say, what are your partners abroad in terms of driving, enterprise and industrial development, making South African industries world competitive. So we'll partner with them and send students abroad. So we've got a pre-existing programs as well that are getting subsumed under this presidential PhD program. We had a knowledge interchange and collaboration program, which was a mobility program for PhDs. We also have a global knowledge and partnership, strategy or program as well, which contained a number of this, international exchange opportunities. So all of those then are reconceptualized and to be subsumed under this presidential PhD programs. So there are new ways of PhD training in terms of transdisciplinarity. So we want to expose our PhD students in terms of competencies and capabilities in transdisciplinary research. We will be very, very targeted in terms of what are the areas where we do not have sufficient supervision or high-level capacity within the country. So we're establishing PhD training hubs, initially in 5 thematic areas, but those thematic areas will grow with time, and more is coming about those priority areas. So number 3 talks about talking to industries, co-creating programs for them, seeking co-funding for them, and then being able, to send students to appropriate destinations abroad to can come back then and make an impact in those industries. This is in line with actually our 10-year plan, 10-year innovation plan, which identified industries whose contribution to the GDP has been eroding over time. Now, we want then this program will be linked to, to placements. We'll be taking students who are currently working, and those who would not have been working at the time, they'll come back and get immediate placements, because it's not a widely targeted program. It's targeted at specific areas for which we do not have sufficient capabilities within the country. Next slide. Yeah, so these are the thematic areas that have been identified. We have asked consortia, university consortia, or consortia led by universities, but the consortia could be a separate cluster of universities with a science council, with a maybe a state-owned enterprise there. They've sent applications to host these PhD development hubs. One will be in mining transformation. The other one is advanced biotechnology. The other one, the water, food, health nexus. The other one, artificial intelligence. And the other one, just energy transition. So there's been a call for expression of interest. And then out of that call, 9 expressions of interest were shortlisted to can develop full proposals. And they are actually at that stage. And we've got initial funding that we've reprioritized from the side of the department to start funding and supporting, particularly the establishment of partnerships by these PhD development hubs with like-minded, institutions, industries, and laboratories abroad, so that then they become the conduit, if you know what I mean. All students around mining transformation, there will be the coordination and the selection and the placement of them will be done through that mining transformation PhD development hub. Similarly for advanced biotechnology. So then we are trying then to sell this initiative to our initial partners. We've got a thriving, very productive suite of programs with already established, international partnerships. So when this internationalization or this international access to international community is predicated on some of these existing instruments. So we call upon our partner countries. There's a slant as well to this initiative because we want to go to what we call our non-traditional partners, belong to the BRICS countries. So there are also opportunities to can partner with BRICS without really sacrificing everything we've had with our traditional partners. The next slide. But I must actually say that a component of this is intra-Africa mobility program. I must say that. I mean, there are good programs in the Makareres of this university, in Eduardo Mondlane, and all of that. So a big element is actually that intra-Africa mobility program. And then this is the map in terms of what has happened. I mentioned the call to host training hubs. So the outcome 9 have been shortlisted, so they'll be developing now the full proposal. We are actually developing, I'll call it what? We're actually prospecting, different partners. We've had different partner engagement. And in that regard, we've had some funding as well coming from the European Union. And we're actually pursuing other avenues for funding. So that's my full say. And then if there are questions, then I'm going to come back. I don't think that I need to, go in detail to this next slide. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. And colleagues, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Becky, for sharing the presentation. We don't have that much time left, but I would like to open the floor. So we had the first presentation on the Ethiopian Superstars, which was more looking back, sharing experience. And then the second presentation, which was more a forecast, sharing ambitions and objectives. So very complementary in that sense. I saw there were already some questions, remarks in the chat, but I don't think there are open questions at this point. So I would just like to open the floor. If someone has a question, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, put your camera on, and feel free to direct your question to one of the 4 speakers we had. So people in the chat are also thanking everyone for the presentation, thanking the pioneers of the Ethiopian Superstar project. So thank you for that. Are there no questions? That's my colleague Jan is raising his hands. Please take the floor.
Let me just open the floor for questions and maybe then others will follow. Thank you both, very interesting talks, both from South Africa as well from Ethiopia. I've been involved with Ethiopia and South Africa in building Erasmus Plus projects also this year. So I'm looking forward to the results there. I actually have a question for Ethiopia in terms of the for women by women training. What is your feeling? Would you repeat this type of training or would you adapt it in the future? I know you gave some feedback on what the women or let's say the participants thought. Would you actually do it again, this for women by women training, or would you do it in another way? And if so, how?
Maybe Acham would like to react to that.
Yeah, thank you very much for the questions. And I think the experience we have got from this training is very nice. And everybody is asking to scale up to the rest of the universities also. But that all is depending on the project plan. And so in terms of the experience we have got from the training, it is very nice and it is good to scale up it to the rest of the universities as well. And the females are enjoyed a lot and their feedback is very positive. but it needs a special budget. So I don't know about that part. Thank you very much. Maybe Bruno will react on this.
Yeah, but Acham, just beyond the project, let's think about beyond the project. So what if your university gives you the assignment to continue doing this training? How would you tackle this? Would you go indeed for a ladies only training, or you would go for a mixture? I think you could also reflect on that. So beyond the project deadline.
Yeah. Actually, I think it is good also to own by the universities, and then if we continue with that until we just reach every woman's of a PhD supervisors, it is very nice. So in my side, I think it is nice and good to continue with that. And so for that, I think we have to work the Ministry of Education to own the program and to reach all the universities. And so I think for me, it is good if we provide the opportunities for the female only, and until we get the rich amount of numbers of females participating in the training. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Maybe Laura, if you allow me to, may I
Yes,
complement my own just tentative opinion regarding the female-only group, which was actually voiced very well by Cham. I think we should be grateful to Jan for raising this one, because this was a question being raised even among the theorists here in Ethiopia, whether, the outcome would be productive or, it may backfire, because, when you have women only and men only, you kind of strengthen the categorization and the already existing power imbalance, instead of having a mix of trainees. This was actually the dilemma, but the issue is that the project was responsive. I think Teklu and Bruno can help me in the sense that by the stringent criteria in order to enroll PhD supervisors, you may not find so many experienced PhD supervisors in Ethiopia being women. So that was really a just cause for resorting to a kind of short-term solution, as Acham said, to have a women-only kind of group. Even in the call, in the general call, not only for the women only, in the general call for the PhD supervision training in the Ethiopian Superstars project, what was done was originally it was for PhD supervisors, but to be a PhD supervisor, you should have a hierarchy, and in order to accommodate more women and a female academic, then we had to revise it to any postgraduate supervisor. I mean, those women educators, women academics who are really, enthusiast or having the enthusiasm and interest to join the program, but still not having PhD student, but having a master's student as at least to have them on board. So that can be, in my opinion, Jan, a short-term kind of intervention. It cannot long last, because affirmative action in Ethiopia has become a politics of some kind, in the sense that is it really perpetuating, the already existing gender imbalance, or, are we really improving it? So we have to think of this, and then as Acham said, I agree. As Bruno suggested, I agree that the Ethiopian Ministry of Education and the higher education system in particular, should be, I think, inquisitive of this, and it should go based on kind of research informed or evidence informed practice, rather than kind of opinion guided one. Just my tentative opinion. Thank you. Back to you.
Can I maybe raise a follow-up question on this? that was included in the chat. To which extent are male colleagues aware of the challenges that female colleagues are confronted with? And that raises maybe also the question, to which extent is there a need to have a female-only training?
Laura, may I comment on this?
Yes, please.
Actually, we share reflections from both trainees who were actually taking the training together with males, and also the reflection from the females. But it's the most important part is not actually about the challenge the PhD supervisor their service are facing. Basically, the intention was the female PhD supervisor will clearly tell what the PhD candidates, particularly the female PhD candidates, face. Sometimes there are rumors everywhere actually in the world. It's not actually unique to Ethiopia, where the power relations between a man and a woman actually affects also this interaction and the productivity of the PhD outcome. So our thought, our hypothesis is that when the female PhD supervisors get together, they might talk openly about the challenge themselves have passed through as a PhD students themselves, so that this challenge that they have passed themselves as PhD students should not be repeated. So it was like an exploration of if there are opinions that they can feel free to forward in the future, that we can use also to share it with the PhD supervisors, the male supervisors, how this power relationship between the male PhD supervisor and the female PhD student actually also affects the training. So it was like an exploration. Otherwise, I don't think, as maybe my friend has already said, we will continue to this, but we already know actually how some maybe people can also benefit from sharing the experience, especially how the experienced male supervisors also manage their both PhD students who are males and females, and also how to act ethically if there are even some things that really we are afraid. So I think we are learning, and we will be sharing all this actually, and maybe thinking of how to integrate these issues of, for example, the gender sensitive supervision could also be part of the training in the future, probably if need arises. Otherwise, we have not yet seen a very significant maybe outcome, but we know that they liked it. They were free to talk about it maybe independently. That does not necessarily mean it justifies that this training should continue in the future, because we might not really have also adequate human power to run that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm afraid we already run over time, but it was good to leave some time for questions and for answers, of course, but I'm afraid we have to close off here. So allow me to thank you all for attending this community talk. We appreciate your attention and participation, and I would like to give a special thank to the speakers, Teklu Gemechu, Melisse Dejene, and Acham Tzadik, and of course, Blakey Hadebe Lancelot. Thank you all for sharing your insights and experience on the Ethiopian Superstar program on the other hand, and on sharing your ambition and objectives of the South African presidential PhD program on the other hand. And all of you, good luck with your future endeavors. We enjoyed learning more about both experiences and ambitions, as pointed out several times by the audience. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we will share this talk on our website and on our YouTube channel coming days. If someone wants to share this or rewatch certain parts, very welcome to do so. And also mark Wednesday, March 25th already in your agenda as the next community talk will take place then. We will announce and share this shortly coming days, weeks on our website and social media platforms, but you can already mark this day in your agenda. Stay tuned, follow our website, social media platforms for updates, and wishing you all a wonderful day and hope to see you all in March.